All right, as we have sadly been talking about this week, it's been a horrible, the long weekend was terrible, and then over the last couple of days, we've had even more shootings.
Exactly, so we've had one almost every day since the long weekend, and it continues even throughout the overnight tonight.
Yeah. And you're hitting the premier wanting to spend $25 million on a SWAT team, legal SWAT team, that will target keeping any gun offenders in jail longer while they're waiting their trial, right?
Right.
So this, though, is not sitting with a criminologist, PhD student, who's also a former gang member, Adam Ellis. I had a chance to talk with him in a park earlier this week, and his focus is on what is causing this and what needs to change. And not a lot of people are going to agree with this, especially with Christopher Husband's, the sentencing where he claimed PTSD.
Yep.
But Adam Ellis says, no, that is a serious concern on why we are having such a surge. Take a listen. Prominent in the courts right now is the sentencing for Christopher Husbands, and one of the things he said was PTSD, and a lot of people probably think, oh, it's not real. But you've seen it. It is real for these, for gang members and people who are in these neighborhoods.
It is. So in my research, I actually compare the experiences of combat veterans with the experiences of ex-gang members. And some people will be like, oh, you can't do that. That's crazy, because one are heroes, one are evil people, right? But it's not so. These two populations just experience extreme forms of violence. They're exposed to things that average citizens are not, especially violence. So what I found was that the youth growing up in our communities who end up joining gangs, who engage in violence, have experienced similar types of exposures as those found in global conflicts. And on top of that, they also develop post-traumatic stress at similar rates as combat veterans. So the question becomes, if we train combat veterans to go experience these violent conflicts, we train them, and they come back and they're still harmed by that violence. If our youth are experiencing the same things, then how do we expect them to function and to be okay? So for some of them they can, and some of them they can't. And that's the question, why is there a difference between some youth who go on to join gangs who engage in violence and others who do not?
Ellis believes that there are police officers, social workers, and charity workers who truly want to make a difference, but the reality, according to him, is that the system is inherently racist and wholesale change is needed. His worry is leaders are afraid to push for those changes.
What is your fear with your research? We had a horrific weekend for shootings. Is that indicative of what may be to come as it becomes further entrenched without changes?
So my feeling is if we keep moving down the path we're going, and there's more pullbacks, and we live in austerity measures, and there's lack of supports, and there are cutbacks to social services, all of these things, our communities are going to feel it. And if the communities feel it, the young people are going to feel it. And they're going to be traumatized by all this. Think about it. We have buildings that are falling apart, just the physical infrastructure that our government does nothing about. Imagine growing up in a building where your roof is falling and leaking, cockroaches, whatever, right? Some of these communities deserve help, and they're not being helped. And the people who live in them are aware of it. The young people are aware of all of this. And then they have to live in a community where they experience bullying, where they're exposed to violence, right? And then their mindset growing up is that they're going to have to protect themselves.
What's it going to take to change that? To change that attitude that you feel is entrenched?
I think it takes political will. I think it takes bringing everybody to the table and having an honest conversation. I've held 2 forums on the same issue, and I've invited politicians, I've invited police chiefs, etc. People don't come. And we've held these forums at the University of Toronto to try to show them that this is an established conversation, right? But I think we really got to get to the root causes, showing political will and pushing the needle so that there can be change in these communities.
That was just about,
bang on.
Yeah, he's incredible to listen to. I sat down, that was about a 10-minute conversation.
Right.
And that was just a couple of the clips. We have the full conversation on Breakfast Television as well.
Right. I just think that what he said there, if, the physical infrastructure is falling apart in certain communities and they're ignored when it comes to just that, why would government be looking into trying to find the root causes? And I think it's incredible that he recognizes that, and I hope that politicians and the police services do listen and do something about that.
I agree. It's an incredible conversation. We'll have it on our website, Breakfast Television. Let's head over now to Jordan and Airborne. Take a look at the roads.